Hi everyone, this is Angie and I'm the founder and owner of AngieSong.com and also Advanced Sommelier. Today we're going to go into a deep dive on just the sight portion of blind tasting. So exactly what are you looking at? All right, get ready? Let's go. All right, here we are. Let's talk about sight and what are we looking at here today. So we're going to go down the list that is provided to us by the Court of Master Sommelier. This is kind of their deductive tasting format. And today, all we're going to do is focus on the sight. The first one we're going to talk about is clarity, visible settlement. So we also have both white and the red wine as an example. And they're here. Before you're gonna go into wine tasting, let's just go back a little bit. You want to have a well-lit area with a wide surface, and when you're pouring a tasting pour of wine, generally about 1 to 2 ounces of wine is enough, because when you're looking at a wine for its sights, you want to be able to tilt the wine glass and be able to roll it on side in order to look at the sight properly. So first thing first, we're talking about clarity and visible settlement. The rule here is you wanted to see if the wine is clear, meaning freed of settlement or any kind of tar tray or any floaties or whatever have you. So obviously this wine, there's no settlement. And also on the red wine, as you can tell, there's no settlement here as well. Now we're going to go down the second line here. The second line, they talk about concentration, pale, medium, or deep. That I think always gets a little confusing for a lot of people. What is concentration? Usually a good rule of thumb is it's a very highly concentrated wine. You will not be able to see through the body of the wine. So right now we're looking through a white background. If I were to place something behind it, like this little lighter or little light source, you won't be able to see through the wine, but you can kind of see it just barely. So I will call this maybe a medium plus to deep. Whereas when it comes to white wine, over here, this is a very pale concentration wine because you can see right through it and see whatever is behind it on the table, right? And next, so essentially essentially what we're trying to figure out with the concentration of the wine is generally the more highly concentrated the wine, the more highly extracted, or usually means a thicker skin grape varietal. So in a blind tasting format, it helps you decipher what the wine might be. Next, we're going to talk about colors. So for colors here in white wine, we can have a watery white, a straw, a yellow, and gold. And unfortunately, I don't have a great range of example of how they look like right now in front of me, but I do recommend you can find out resources in a lot of places online where they give you a really good spectrum of wines that range from watery white to really gold. And also for red wine, you have purple, ruby, red, and garnet as well. So we're gonna check out the white wine first. So this white wine is probably what we call a pale straw, because you do see some yellow in there. I see some colors in there, but it's not super yellow and it's definitely not gold. Generally, you get yellow and gold. Gold usually is very highly extracted or really thick skin white wine or older white wine, you'll get that gold color. And yellow is more extractive varietal like Chardonnay, Roussanne, Marsanne, those things you get yellow. Everything else, you usually get somewhere between a watery white to a pale straw. So this is a very pale straw color, because you do see a little straw color, but it's very pale. Whereas on the red wine is more interesting. Depending on the color, you get a lot more hints out of a red wine. So this red wine, when they say purple, we're talking about really deep, dark, highly extracted. Usually you're looking at Malbec, Zinfandels, and certain Cabernet. That's when it gets to that dark purple. When it comes to ruby and red, that is kind of where most wine colors will go. And garnet or slash a little bit of orange generally means a aged wine. So when you see some orange hint to it or garnet looking wine, that generally means the wine has a little bit of age to it. I would say this color is somewhere between a ruby red with maybe a hint of orange hue to it. Very just a little bit of a hints. So I just kind of jump ahead there. I just said a orange hue. So that is the next category. That's what they call the secondary color. So we're going to talk about this because secondary color gives you so much hints. For white wine, you can find either silver green or copper secondary color. And for red wine, you could find maybe orange, blue, ruby, garnet, or bronze secondary color. We're going to see if we can give you a good explanation here. So what is secondary color? It's kind of what we call a hue, and it kind of blends in with what we call a ring variation. So you can see my little red dot here. The edge here, that's the rim. And hue usually flows near the edge. But where my pointer is pointing at right now, do you see a little green coloration to it? That is what we call a secondary color. So this wine has a secondary hue or secondary color of green. And generally, when you see a green secondary color, indicates a useful wine. So this is a young wine indeed. Now let's check out the secondary color in this red glass of wine. So you see right between the edge of the wine, which is and a little bit in, that's this whole section here near the edge is what we call the rim of the wine when you're looking at it sideways like that. Can you tell that in the center, this wine is a little more ruby red, on the outside, kind of near the rim, is a little more orange and a little more garnet. So that gives you two hints. Usually whenever you see color like that, it means one, the wine is older, or two, it can indicate a specific varietal. There are three different varietals that generally show a orange hue on the edge, even when they're somewhat useful. Those are Sangiovese, Nebbiolo, and Tempranillo. So whenever I see a wine like this, which still have a medium plus concentration and good coloring in the middle, but yet it's already kind of showing slight orange hue, it gives me a hint into this could possibly be one of those sweet varietals I just mentioned. So that is exactly what we mean by the secondary colors. Next, we have rim variation, yes or no, or how much. As we mentioned earlier before, where my pointer are pointing at the edge of the wine, that's the rim. As wine gets older, there is going to be what we call rim variation, which means the gap between the edge and the center of the wine here. So right now it looks like the color of the wine goes all the way to right about here. And then the colors start to get a little lighter from here to here. Can everyone see that? That is what we call the rim variation. The older the wine is, the more you're going to see this really light rim, and the rim is going to get bigger and wider, and you're going to have a smaller and smaller center core color the older the wine gets. But this wine does have about 6 years of age. So like I said, you're seeing just a little bit of the rim variation already. So that's a yes. On white wine, it's a little bit harder to tell, especially the white wine is so young right now. Everything looks very pale, but the same thing will happen for the ring variation there. And next thing we're looking at will be the extraction and tearing, and that's just for red wine. Red wine has the pigment of skin and heavier color in there. So we sometimes, when it's a thicker skin grade varietal, you will see a very extensive extraction, or what we call staining of the glass. And what do we mean by that? The way to test it is, again, you have the wine tilted sideways. That's why you don't want it too full. You just gently rotate the wines around. Can you see I'm rotating the wines around? And do you see that as I rotate, there is color standing to the side of a glass. So not where the wine is sitting, but when I turned it, can you see on the side of a glass, it starts to stand a little bit? Those are what we call staining. But this is not super heavy. And again, this is not a super heavy grade varietal. So I will probably call this a medium stain of the glass. When you're drinking a super highly concentrated Zinfandel, Cabernet, or really heavy colored red wine, the staining will be substantial, a lot more than this. Now, second to last category will be the tearing. So tearing is some of the most misunderstood section. You wanted to either swirl the glass, or you want to just kind of rotate the glass and then put the glass upright. And you want to see if there's any teardrop forming on the side of a glass going back into the wine. Usually, if you have big, heavy, and slow tears, there's a little bit right here. It's hard to tell, like a little bit on the back here. If you have really big, slow, heavy tear, it doesn't mean the wine is better. It's the sexy lake myth is just what it is, a myth. It does not give you the quality of the wine, but it just tells you the possible alcohol and the possible sugar content of the wine. The higher the alcohol and the more sugary the wine is, the bigger and the slower those tears will draw down. So I would say these are probably a medium tears, not very heavy. It's right there. And keep in mind that how clean or dirty your glass will also change the shape and size and speed of those tears coming down. So it is really just a quick reference, nothing to write home about. And as you see, this one barely have any tear form. It's just sheeting down the side of the glass. There's not enough of sugar or alcohol in this glass of wine for it to form that surface tension and for the tear to come down the side of the glass. And last but not least, the last category is gas evidence. Gas evidence is just like that. If you're seeing any bubble in a glass, that is evidence of gas. So for both of these wine, it will be a negative for gas evidence. And when you're seeing small gas in young red or white wine, it could be an indication that it has went through a slight secondary fermentation in the bottle. So that is a cool little hint for you. Alright guys, so that was my really geeky overview of sight when it comes to the professional blind tasting. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please hit that like button and share it with anyone else who might find this video interesting. Go ahead and leave any questions in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to angiesong.com to get weekly recap on all the video updates. And I send out the best freaking wine deals in the entire world, so why don't you try it? With that being said, live and drink passionately.